Hello, hello, hello. We're back. Another episode. Um, yeah. I know it's been a while. But like I said from the which one was it? Well, last episode, you could say. Not you could say, but to say. These will not be regular. These are just, whenever I finish the paper and whenever I feel like doing them. And today I have a day off from my new job. And I finished the paper. I have the outline. So we're gonna go ahead and talk about this. But we'll give it a couple minutes. Hopefully, a couple more people come in. Sup, Slev? I'm pretty sure this Slev. Sonye Levit. Yeah, no, I can't pronounce your actual name, but yeah, Slev, is that you? I think that's you. Anyway, let me know the audio levels. Ah, it is Slev. I knew it. Let me know the audio levels and whatnot. But yeah, we'll hang out for 10 or so minutes. Hopefully, some more people come in, come to watch, and hopefully, this can be super helpful. Um, while we are waiting, I suppose I can talk about some format changes. So, you saw the thumbnail. I updated it. It's probably going to keep getting updated, but I think it's at a good place for now. Uh, so, yeah. But as far as format goes, so I was given a suggestion by Dr. Maylard, the duck guy in Discord. Um, he basically said that I am doing something pretty similar to Aiden, but in a live format, which, despite my feelings on Aiden, think I don't think her format's bad. But the thing I don't do that she does is mention like the people who she's citing. So this time I am going to do that. I did not put in any of the dates, so I am going to go ahead and do that super fast while we are waiting. But yeah, so what's going to happen is we're going to do basically similar to the last one. We're going to do the introduction, we're going to talk, then go through the methods, we're going to talk. The research findings will be a little different because instead of just going over my findings, I will mention who said what and when and yeah. And then because I have it all cited, do I feel like putting all the dates? I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna do it. I should. I should put all the dates. You guys are absolutely right. Although no one said that. So give me a second to put the dates in. But yeah, we're gonna go through these just like a really short, like first sentence of each paragraph I made of what they found, discuss. Then we'll go to the discussion portion, which I will go over kind of what I said, and then we can talk or just go over my general thoughts. Now that I'm a few months, I think weeks, it might be months or weeks from the paper. And then we'll hit the conclusion, final questions, hang out a bit, and close up. So, yeah, I know BBC comes on today, the real BBC, and I don't want to compete with them because I know a lot of people would rather watch that, and I already have a very small audience, and I want to be educational. So, that starts about 12 my time, so in about, you know, 2 hours and 40 minutes, which is probably like more than enough time to get done with this. So yeah, this is what we're doing, and then after the podcast, I will post this on a couple things. By the way, new thing, I opened up a Substack. Hey Alexander, what's up? How you doing? How is everybody? But I opened up a Substack. I guess I want to monetize it, but it's so early, and I don't think it has a lot of people yet, and there's not a lot of content on there that I don't think I will. Um, I think it would be nice to charge like $1, right, a month for it. Like, I don't want to be one of those guys who's like, oh my god, like, I started a thing, and now I'm gonna charge a shit ton of money and have all these perks. Like, no. I tried to do that, and then the conscience came in and was like, nope, you're not gonna do that. So, yeah. I also have Patreon. It's somewhere. I wanted to do perks, but I don't feel like I could reliably do perks anyway. So, I don't share that link anywhere. Because, like, well, if you want to support me, you want me to keep doing these, just, like, for now, watch, tell your friends. Oh, I'm a little low? Okay. Uh, turn up the audio? Okay. There we go. I might have to turn it. Let me know how that is. And by the way, I am turned away from my mic right now, so it might be a little quieter. So when the actual show starts, um, let me know if I'm then too loud, because I am talking away from my mic as I am getting all these dates. Because I want to be accurate with my citations. Okay, got all the accurates. Uh, got all the accurates. I got all the dates on. Okay. But yeah, we'll start in about 4 minutes. Like when the clock hits 25, wherever you are respectively. But yeah, I have a Patreon, but I'm not sharing that link because I don't even know what to do with it. I'm not regular enough with these episodes for me to feel okay with that. And even if I did, I'd probably do it like Mahler, where it's like $1, $2, $3. And there's no like perks. It's just, hey, thanks for helping me keep this up. Because I do have a day job, and that's the main way I support myself and my girlfriend and my dog. So I would like to be able to just switch over to this podcast because I really like talking about this kind of stuff. And it does encourage me to continue my education. Not formally, like I'm not going back to college. Fuck that. I've done enough college for a lifetime. But, continuing to do research, practicing, improving, that kind of stuff. And, yeah, and it might even help me open up my research sources to more than just more than just free articles, although that still limits a lot of people. So I will probably still use free articles, that way everyone could check my work instead of being like, oh well, I can't check what he said. It's like, no, I want everyone to be able to check the things I say. And unlike Aiden, I'm not going to use fucking 200 citations for shit. Like, no one's gonna check all of that. Like, no one. I was gonna, like, check what she said for a thing, because I always feel like she's being a little dishonest. But with 200 articles, no. Now, even if she is, that's a lot of fucking dedication to be a fucking liar. Unless she doesn't write her scripts. In that case, ew. Terrible. Terrible. But I assume she does. And I don't want to be bad faith. I already don't like her. I'm not trying to be dishonest. So in saying that, yeah, she used like fucking 200 like citations for her like episodes. It's insane. I like to use like I try to stay between 8 and 20. I mostly use reviews. I don't want to get outside of reviews because a review, systematic, or meta-analysis, those are even a literature review. They collect a lot of data and then present it all at once, because if you present a study, that study can support anything. Like, it's very easy to cherry pick studies. But reviews are much harder to cherry pick. Like, much harder. So, yeah. There's a little bit of time left. I think next episode might be over beef, and if it's bad for you, like causes cancer, But I don't know. Like many of these, like many of the articles and things I cover, it could be anything. Like if I just feel a whinge, not a whinge, that's a weird one. If I just feel like an urge to cover something, I'll cover that instead of something I've pre-prepared, which, you know, might be good, might be bad, but it's a surprise to everyone because you don't know what I'm gonna cover. Unless you're in the Discord, that I talk about it. But even then, I could just decide I don't want to cover something anymore. Um, what's up? Oh, it's Professor Mallard. Mallard. I don't know how to pronounce that. That's embarrassing. I don't know how to pronounce the duck. Huh. But what's up? How you doing? You have a meeting? Well, I'm sorry about that, but these things, I don't take them down. They are free for everyone to watch, and if you want, you can read the actual paper when I post it, because it will be on my Medium and Substack. I think I'm going to slowly move away. No, I'm going to keep Medium, because when I hit 100 followers, they pay me, which will be a very long fucking time away. Yeah, work meetings do suck a big old dick, and I'll probably have them, in like a year when I certify to be a clinical exercise physiologist, because I want to do that, but I need clinical experience, which is why I have the job I have now. And what's up, Lightside? How you doing? How you doing, bud? But yeah, we should probably start. So I shall have a sip of my water. I will mute real quick so you don't have to hear that awkward noise. Oh yeah, warm water. Fucking awful. That's not warm. It's like room temp. I didn't put any ice in, but let's begin. Are we all ready for class, gentlemen and ladies and anyone else? I don't know. It's weird. I don't like all those weird ones. I just like my ladies, my gentlemen, and my shark people. Let's begin. Okay, so introduction. Burnout is defined as the physical or mental collapse caused by overwork or stress. Another definition is a state of emotional, mental, and often physical exhaustion by problems at work or during a hobby. Um, so let's go ahead and talk about it. Feel free to ask questions or say your thoughts on it in the chat. Basically, I think everyone's experienced burnout in some way. It's um, it's it's not a good feeling, I would say. I experienced it in many things. Let me think. So the easiest example is like Monster Hunter World. Like I'm playing it now. If you're in Discord, I talk about it a lot. But when I played it before, I played it with my friends at the time, which we've all drifted apart because they have PCs and I'm poor. But when it comes to that, I played like 900 hours and it was pretty much every day. And I think a big contributor to that was I was making videos. And these videos, build videos, were actually doing very well. Like, I think my best views was like 11,000, which is really good, I think, for like a channel with like 200 subs. And then, the next one didn't come out on PS4, so I couldn't continue making videos. But yeah, it's a tough feeling. And obviously, you can feel burnout in a hobby like I did. You can feel it at work. You work a job so long and they keep asking for more and more of you, and eventually you lose any motivation you had. Especially if it's a job you already didn't like that much. But burnout tends to feel worse when it's a job that you initially liked or a hobby you initially liked. And well, later on I'll discuss like how you deal with that in a way. It's it's a bit obvious, but I think a lot of people will think that it's more there's a better scientific method to deal with it, but it's what most people will probably expect, which, is a lot of research. Like there's not a lot of research that says, oh, well, this thing's brand new. And if there is, people tend not to talk about it in the research field, not as much, because it's like, oh, well, we found this. It's like, okay, how many studies have you done? One. How many? Okay, so how many people have replicated your study? None. Okay, so the thing you found is interesting, but it means nothing because we haven't replicated it yet. But yeah, a lot of research is just confirming what we already know. It might explain how the things we already know work. So yeah, this is probably going to be one of them. But yeah, burnout's a tough one, and I think everyone experiences it. I noticed that there's a lot of people in the EFAP Discord that are, they're artists, they are aspiring content creators, and hopefully this can be a resource to them. This could be a resource to y'all for like your hobbies or your work. That's the main intention of this. So yeah, we'll go ahead and move on to the methods. So for this paper slash podcast, I used an electronic database, PubMed, and found 8 freely available systematic reviews and meta analyses. The keywords I used were burnout, athlete, intervention, and once these articles were examined for similar ideas across them, I wrote the paper. Um, so yeah, the reason I'm telling you the keywords is that maybe you want to look at it for yourself and see if there's any articles I may have missed or cherry picked. I don't think I did. I was very specific with what I was looking for, and burnout is a really broad topic. There's some that discuss more of what the phenomenon is rather than um, how to treat it. And in my time in college, I did notice that we talked a lot about athlete burnout. So I used that keyword. I used that keyword just because I know that it is a subject that is explored. Intervention, obviously, because of certain certain studies don't examine how to change it. So with an intervention, you introduce something to try to relieve or change the result. Right? Like what everyone thinks of an intervention is, oh, we're gonna sit you down and discuss so you change your ways. Intervention in research is just we're going to introduce variables that will hopefully change the outcome or change this phenomenon. Let's see what chat's saying real quick. We should get Cordery in here. Yes, we should because he sucks, and he should learn more stuff. Yeah, I had several times. I had one several times on my last work. You can't do anything, just look at the screen for hours. Then you type a line of code and you feel disgusted. A new cycle of several hours is started. Yeah, that is burnout where you just lose all motivation. You're just exhausted. Any like it's it's almost like a marathon where you are just gassed out and every single next step is just excruciating. And it's like, well, it's just one step. But you're exhausted. You're just tired. If you're writing, every line you do is just pain. And it's a difficult phenomenon to explain to people who haven't experienced it yet. Because there are people who haven't experienced it yet. But it will come at some point to everyone. Unless, they are inadvertently taking care of the things that I'm going to like say later. And like this one might be a little harsh, but I could see people who get rich off relatively easy stuff not experiencing as much burnout. Like, I'm not going to make that assumption. But because they have more income and all this other stuff, that they can take more time off. So burnout doesn't hit them as fast or even hits them at all. But when it comes to people who have to, and these people can be rich as well, who have to work all the time, or they really have to keep up their hobby, or they put undue stress on themselves. That's really when burnout starts to creep up on them. I did experience a long bout of burnout during high school from the start of COVID until I graduated. It was it wasn't consistent, but it was there. Yeah, burnout takes many forms. Sometimes it's a very long process. Sometimes it's intermittent. It's a tough thing to deal with. All right, let's talk about some research findings. So, in 2019, Lee and colleagues found that there is a negative association between dispositional mindfulness and athlete burnout among young athletes. Basically, they did mindfulness exercises, and they found that the young athletes who did mindfulness exercises had less athlete burnout. Now, you might be wondering, how do you measure burnout? Well, because it is a psychological condition, you have to use surveys and tests and hope that people are honest, which is, that is a very tough thing about psychological studies. A lot of them are qualitative, which means you aren't taking super exact data. They're not numbers that you are measuring. A lot of it's from people's perspective. And, it makes it harder to, how do I explain it? It makes it harder to be like, okay, this is concrete, but you can make your results more reliable by using multiple subjects, different testing types. Like you could use interviews, you can use surveys, etc., and you look for commonalities in people's answers, and that usually points you in the right direction. Another review in 2019, John's daughter and Dahlman conducted a systematic review and meta-analysis on mindfulness and athlete burnout and found that current research cannot confirm any endocrinological or immunological changes related to burnout, which results in difficulty studying the mitigation of burnout. Basically, what that means is that they couldn't find hormone changes or changes in the immune system during burnout. So, similar to what I just said, because it is a psychological condition and it doesn't affect the body the way a lot of other conditions do, it's hard to be like, this person definitely has burnout. Or this person has burnout and we have reduced burnout. It's all from the participant's point of view, the subject's point of view. And because of that, it's always going to be a difficult thing to study. Because according to that review, there are no physiological changes with burnout. You just feel it. There might be body language changes in burnout, but people haven't really studied that. So yeah, it makes it very difficult to study the mitigation of burnout. Keep that in mind, because that will be a common trend. In 2018, I didn't put these in order of like time or alphabetical. I did it in order of when I found them, so the dates might jump around a little bit, just so you know. In 2018, Oceantel, Humphrey, and Pfeiffer conducted a systematic review and meta-analysis on the efficacy of exercise therapy on people with burnout, and found that a combination of cognitive behavior therapy, mindfulness-based therapy, and exercise therapy may reduce burnout. However, at the time of this review, there is a lack of high-quality studies that support the assumption that exercise therapy is a successful modality to alleviate burnout symptoms. Again, basically saying, there is evidence that exercise therapy is effective for managing burnout. So, yeah, you should exercise to help with burnout symptoms. But there is a lack of data on this. Like, basically, they didn't find a lot of studies examining this. And that is, again, a very common trend that while burnout is a growing problem, and I don't mean this in like a, oh, well, it's an issue that's coming up. No, it is a growing problem in a lot of fields. Because a lot of fields, I'm going, the best way to explain this is with young athletes. When you're a kid, the I would say the vast majority of kids find sports really fun. Now, what happens? One of three things happens. A, okay, let me rephrase. One of three negative things happen to a lot of kids because obviously the amount of kids that play sports in high school is probably less than the amount of kids who play sports in elementary school. Okay? Yes, you have your girly girls who will never play a sport and they only do PE because it's mandatory. But I mean generally. And of course, things change. You have different sports you can do. But overall, a lot of people start to move away from sports. And there's several reasons why. Number one, they find different interests. This is the best case scenario. They find different interests they like. Maybe they end up liking computer sciences or fashion or whatever or cooking where they move away from sports. Okay, that's number one. That's best case scenario. Second case scenario. This one's pretty tough. It stops being fun because it becomes more about winning. When you stop having fun doing something, it becomes a chore. It becomes a job. Even if you're not paid for it, it becomes a job. And you can ask anyone who doesn't like their job, what happens? They don't enjoy it. It becomes exhausting every day to go. Like, I have a new job. I'm not going to say I love it. I don't. But it's mentally engaging enough to where it is exhausting at the end of the day. But because it is so engaging, the shifts don't feel like they last long. In fact, the oh my god, I'm really tired happens in the last couple hours, which is pretty good. The last case scenario is probably the worst when their parent or coach comes in and basically says, hey, you're really good at X. You need to continue doing X and not do other things. Now, you might be wondering, why is this the worst? You would think, oh, well, if you're only focused on winning, that would be the worst, right? No, because winning is still a good feeling, right? It wears down, but when you win, winning is fun. When someone says you're not allowed to do anything and you're just going to focus on this, it starts to become tiring because it is the same thing over and over and over again. It's like, well, you're good at this, so we're going to make you really good at this. It's a, how do you call it? It's one of those situations that is, I, the concept is slipping my mind right now. But basically, because you have stripped all the. It's an anachronism. There we go. It is an old way of thinking that we know is bad, but a lot of people have not caught up. So, a lot of the best athletes or best computer engineers or whatever, they quit way before they can ever get in because people saw they were talented and then just pushed them to the edge, and then they burnt out and wanted nothing else to do with it. This happens in a lot of things, right? If you are really good at your job, what happens? People want you to do your job more and more and more. And eventually you hate your job and then you want to quit, and then it's just a matter of finding a good time to quit. This happens a lot. Like, I think I'm a medical scribe. So I think there was a scribe who like my provider said was really good, and he just quit all of a sudden. Now it could have been he got what he needed and was heading out, or it could have been like he was really good, so they kept giving him shifts, and he was like, "I need a break," and they kept giving him shifts, and he was like, "I need a break." Eventually, he hit his breaking point where he was a really good one, but because they expected so much of him, he stopped. It stopped being engaging. Let's not say fun. Let's say engaging. So he left. Happens. Where am I? I'm at 3, so I'm gonna highlight this so I remember where I'm at, and let's read the chat. Slev said, actually, scratch that. During summer break last year, I decided against a summer job and was chilling at home, and then found a group of people on Twitch who I really enjoyed hanging out with. Huh. Nice. Wait, so did you feel burnout from twitchiness, or did that help relieve it? Oh, you're gonna have to explain that a little bit. We're gonna go ahead and keep going through these findings, however. So, in 2021, Sarmento and colleagues found in their systematic review that social support helped reduce burnout effects and thus improving emotional well-being of football players. That's pretty awesome. Oh, I got blocked by YouTube bots? Well, luckily for me, I have a pop-out window with live chat because for some reason you can't put live chat on the screen. Okay. I'll read that thing again. Let me read this. Okay. Scratch that during some break. Blah, blah, blah. I fucked up my sleep schedule to hang out with them and stay for the entire stream, and because of those 3 months, I was happier than I was in the previous 9. The rest of the comment got I got it now. Stupid YouTube and their stupid words. Yeah, I forgot that you can't put up live chat in the recording. I don't know why. There has to be a way to do that. But I have a pop-out window, so I can just pop that out next to my outline and read. I just forgot. So, your chat actually helped me out. So thank you. And yeah, the YouTube bots do not like rude words. They also don't like random other words that are impossible to predict. Much like Twitch. Like, you can't say bumboy on Twitch, which is so weird. That was a weird stream with metal. Anyway, let's continue. Sarmento and colleagues found in their systematic review that social support helped reduce burnout effects and thus improving emotional well-beings of football players in 2021. There's not much to explain there. Social support, basically spending time with friends, talking to others, that helped them reduce burnout effects and improved emotional well-being, which is important in every profession, hobby, sport, whatever. Really, really good. Well, there wasn't much to say about that one, so we'll move on. Oglesby, Gallucci, and man, some of these names are fucked. Windine studied the causes, effects, and prevalence of burnout in athletic trainers. Basically, an athletic trainer is kind of an on-field doctor, right? Think of a medic in like a military. An athletic trainer is the equivalent of that to a sports team. Now, when you get really high up, you might just have a sports orthopedic on the field of court. Like, I think basketball, they have their sports medicine doctors instead of an athletic trainer. But they might have athletic trainers like during practice, or they are running your treatments. So an athletic trainer they're not what they sound like, because it sounds like, oh, well, they're like a personal trainer. It's like, no, they're more of a medical type. It's like, oh, you got injured, let's work on fixing that, and hopefully you don't need to go to the big boys like physical therapy and sports medicine doctors if we can take care of it here. And you do need to be board certified. You do need to be board certified to run a athletic training program. So while you could do it in school, like high school or college, you're still under the supervision of a certified athletic trainer. It's a cool job, really. I just, personally, I didn't want to have to go to a billion sports games because I didn't fucking feel like it. But it's a really cool route to go if you want to do medicine without doing all the schooling of like a PT or a sports medicine doctor. Because I think you just need a master's degree to be an athletic trainer, but you still need to be board certified. So it's easier than those other ones, but it's still it's not that much lower. Anyway, let's continue. Prevalence of burnout in athletic trainers. The researchers concluded that the literature dictated that athletic trainers, while they still suffer from burnout on a wide scale, suffer from it at a lower rate than other healthcare professionals. However, this seems to be changing in 2020. So, this review seems to not fit in with the others because it is not an intervention. However, the reason why I brought this up is because athletic training is not they aren't ER doctors, right? They're not people coming in with their arms cut off and you are their only line between life and death, and half the time they die anyway. They're not that. Not half the time, but sometimes they die anyway. Like your really bad cases in ER, that's rough. But although their situations are not as bad, the frequency of them suffering from burnout is increasing. So it doesn't really matter if your job's super stressful or a bit more laid back. It can happen. Burnout can happen. And it is an increasing problem. Now you might be thinking, how is it a problem if it's just a psychological condition that's not even permanent or debilitating? Well, like with my example earlier, when you have someone really good at their job and they quit because of burnout, you just lost someone who's really good at their job for something that could have been prevented. You might have lost the world's next greatest bencher, and because they are burnt out on training, they will never come back. I mean, they might, but the chance is small. So figuring out how to mitigate these things is important. I mean, I know the people in here watch EFAP. Think of, remember Godelb? How it was a parody of, video essays, and then Mahler found that he was getting burnt out on doing it because it became an obligation rather than something fun he did. That is the effect of it. You lose something because, oh man, I don't care about doing this anymore. And then you never want to do it again. I mean, you might do it again, but you don't want to. And then the people who are affected by it positively lose out because you're not going to sacrifice yourself to the point of hating what you do entirely for them. And if you do, then it goes from, hey, you lose this one aspect of what I do, to I will not do this anymore. I'd rather do something else. So dealing with burnout is vital for a lot of people. All right. Anyway, moving on. We have like three more. Zhang et al. So basically Zhang and all of his fellow researchers working on this project examined the effect of interventions designed to reduce burnout in physicians and nurses in their review. After overviewing 22 systematic reviews and meta-analyses, they found that the evidence provides support for further investigation and that interventions should be implemented urgently to find long-term effects in 2022. Okay, again, this one's a little different than the others because this is a review of reviews. Basically, it's doing what I'm doing, except with funding because mine's free. So, essentially, what they're saying is that there is evidence in this situation. There's evidence that you can stop or at least reduce burnout. But there needs to be more. There needs to be a lot more evidence. And there's enough evidence that there are forms of treatment that are effective and they need further investigation and interventions, but that the interventions with evidence should start being implemented like very, very quickly. Because again, when people experience the full effect of burnout, actually I haven't explained this. So burnout isn't just burnout. Like, I'm going to explain how serious burnout can be. Now, it's not always serious. Don't get it twisted. Like, a hobby burnout, like, oh, I'm burnt out on this video game, I never want to play it again, although I love it, is not the same as I'm burnt out at work and I don't want to do my job anymore. Burnout can go from, especially if it's like a deep passion of yours. Like, let's say you are a doctor and you love helping people and you feel burnout. Burnout can easily become depression. And as we know with depression can easily become, and oh my god, this is, like, I'm not monetized for this, so this is fine. Burnout can easily become, like, suicidal thoughts. And obviously we know where that can lead. Like, burnout is a serious condition. It's not always serious. Don't confuse me with thinking, oh, well, if you experience burnout, you're going to feel depression and then you're going to want to kill yourself. No. But in some cases, it can lead down that road, especially if it goes untreated and the person who is experiencing burnout does not acknowledge those symptoms and keeps going. It can become depression and so on. Because of this, I think burnout should be treated seriously. And luckily for burnout, the ways to treat it are, like, you know, they are very easy. They're very easy to implement. Well, for a lot of people. But because they are very easy to implement and fix, people don't take it as seriously as they should. It's a lot like obesity. Obesity is a relatively easy problem to fix. Well, no, it's not. It's actually a very complicated problem to fix. Diabetes was not, not diabetes. Obesity was not a good thing to compare. Yeah, it's hard to compare burnout to something else because the solution is relatively simple. Implementing it can be hard because, you know, people do need to work and a lot of people do provide a service that is required. But yeah, it's something that isn't taken as seriously as it should be. Because of this, yeah, Zing's right. If there is an intervention that shows promise, especially if it's like a very low cost, very easy to like implement, we should start doing it immediately and keep investigating the effects. Let's check out chat because I did see it move a couple times. Goodell wasn't that funny anyway. I don't blame Mupesley. Agreed to well, I guess you could kind of start feeling the passion go away after like the third one, because the second one killed me, but like the third one, it was funny, but you could tell that he was losing passion for it. But yeah, YouTubers doing something fun a couple times and then it becomes an obligation is a common trend. Yeah, because everyone expects this of you, then it becomes an obligation, and once it becomes an obligation, you start running the risk of, oh, I have to do this instead of, oh man, I'm gonna do this because I enjoy it. Like I have fun doing it. When it's an obligation, that fun part is at risk. I have a story about a work burnout. We have a couple guys who did a side job for our project from the other department to do intervene with their jobs. They had to do that on the weekends. Oh, so basically they were, yeah. After a month of such schedule, they left the company. I can't imagine. Yeah, basically to explain what Alex was saying. They had some guys who took on another project, and because they had work during the week, they had to do it on the weekend. So, and you could kind of see the common trend with a lot of burnout stories. They basically never took a break off work. It was either they're doing this work or they're doing that work. And so, because of this, burnout hit. And it hit quite hard. And they did the best thing they could do for themselves and just left the company. That is what happens usually. Like the situations where it turns into depression and then so on and so forth is rarer because usually you can just leave. You can leave what you're doing and do something else. But sometimes, especially depending on your management or whatever, or your audience, it can feel like you can't leave. And if you do leave, bad things will happen when you honestly should. Like when burnout gets bad enough, you should quit. Or take a vacation or something. And so when that happens, that's when you start running the real risk of when you can't feel like you can quit or leave. That's when things start looking like not good. We have two more reviews to overview real quick, then we'll get to the next portions. In 2021, Arnsten and Schonefeld examined burnout from a neurobiological perspective and found that burnout affects the prefrontal cortex, reducing connections, and those connections can be restored with stress relief. So, what they found, which was later than the endocrinological and immunological review, which again is studying different systems, is that burnout basically reduces your prefrontal cortex. Now, if I remember correctly, your prefrontal cortex does a lot with motivation, your social cues. Basically, it's the part of the brain that really makes humans social creatures. If I remember correctly. If I'm wrong, please tell me, because again, different parts of the brain function differently, and if you don't study this stuff regularly, you can't forget. But just using everything else I know, basically, burnout can affect the brain in a negative way to where depression is probably more likely. You're reducing all these connections, and these connections are important for social life, and if they're reduced, again, that can affect you very negatively. Like, oh man, for example, let's just screen a hypothetical. You have this guy, let's say content creator, okay? He is a fitness content creator. He's very happy. He has a wife, he has a dog, all this stuff. And he's noticing that he's getting more popular. Now, while he's getting more popular, he decides, hey, you know what? I'm going to ramp up my process. Instead of 1 video a week, I'm going to do 3 videos a week. So now he is constantly working, right? And he does this for about 4 months in a row. And now he's really starting to feel the effects. Now, he's experiencing burnout. Let's say it's earlier stages, but he's starting to feel it. He starts to notice that his wife starts to notice that he's not as loving with her, right? He doesn't talk to her as much. He's not as emotionally available. He doesn't even want to do fun times with her, right? Now there's stress on his relationship. That's going to add on to the burnout effects. The dog's not as happy, right? He the dog liked the dude, but the dude's stressed and tired all the time, and the dog's like, right? Because of burnout, the guy's ability to connect with people and decision making, all these things is being reduced. Now, the good thing about that review is that they also found that those connections can be restored by stress relief. Another common trend in a lot of these things. Last review I covered in 2018, Pos, yes, that's his name. If I'm pronouncing it wrong, have a better name. Pos and colleagues conducted a systematic review to examine how web-based tools and mobile applications can help reduce burnout, depression, and suicidality in healthcare students and professionals. In the review, they conducted only one web-based tool, Mood Gym. No, they concluded that only one web-based tool, Mood Gym, was evidence-based, and only a few showed any evidence of efficacy. But nevertheless, the potential for easy access intervention and early detection tools were available. That's what they found. That while the tools that were available were not great, the fact that they existed meant that, again, burnout can be solved relatively easy and relatively accessibly. Of course, when you get to depression and suicidality, those web-based tools, they might not be enough. Depression is a complicated disease. In a lot of cases, just speaking through my field, exercise can help with depression immensely, right? There's a lot of evidence that shows it is as effective as medication. But there's also a lot of cases where for some people it's not as effective. They just need to be on medication. Again, like having these kind of tools on the internet or in app stores is like really good. Especially if we know burnout can lead to depression and depression can lead to suicidality. Being able to detect it early or help reduce it early is a vital tool for the world we are living in. Like, this isn't in the paper. This is something I know. Sorry for the background noise. My fridge has decided to make noise, and it will not stop. So, for everyone who hears that constant buzzing, my mic decides to pick up every noise, except for when I don't know. I can't predict when it picks up noise, but essentially my refrigerator is doing something. So there is a slight buzzing. So anytime I take a second to stop talking, that buzzing comes through very, very clearly. I think it might not come out clearly at all because I can't listen to what y'all hear because otherwise there'll be a big old echo and it'll all be weird. But regardless, having tools to detect this and reduce it early, especially when it's still in the burnout phase, is immensely important. Because again, while a lot of burnout can be solved by just leaving whatever's causing you burnout, sometimes people feel like they can't leave, they can't stop. Especially like if it's their only source of income, or their boss is really hammering them, or like what they're doing actually makes a pretty big effect. Like a positive effect on the world, they might stay when burnout is just climbing and climbing and climbing. Eventually, it leads to depression, and once it hits depression, solving it becomes a much more complicated situation. And once it reaches suicidality, not only is it complex, it is urgent. So detecting it early is very, very good. Regardless, that is the end of the research. Well, I mean, I guess the results section. Basically, what I found. Very short summaries. In the actual paper, they are quite a bit longer. They're still summaries. Like, they're not. I didn't copy over the paper. I looked for vital sentences. Like, basically, the conclusion to every major part of a section and explained it. So they are still short summaries, but there are also links to the actual papers when I post this. When I post the papers on the things, which will be later today. But yeah, there's not much to talk about. I talked a lot throughout that. So we can go ahead and move on to the discussion. So what all of the reviews seem to agree on is that burnout is caused by a heightened and prolonged level of stress. Again, this stress can be from anything from when your hobby turns into an obligation, when work is just too much to handle. It can even happen in relationships when your relationship requires a lot of work and is very stressful and is prolonged. You can get burnt out on a relationship. I'm sure that's how like a lot of marriages and long-term relationships end, where you stop enjoying being with that person and it becomes an obligation. I mean, sure, it was an obligation beforehand, but yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Like, a lot of situations are tough, and especially if you don't enjoy them, they can lead to burnout, and then you just quit. And sometimes, especially with relationships, you can have like a good significant other, like a great one, but you hit a stressful time, and it's a long stressful time, and you just get burnt out. And when things get better, you start missing them because it's like, man, they were awesome. What happened? And it's like nothing really happened. You hit a long stretch of stress, and unfortunately, it didn't work out. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes they're a piece of shit, but that can happen too. But yeah, work, hobbies, relationships, anything can be affected by burnout, especially when you stop enjoying it, or it stops becoming like stimulating, if you could say. The best that literature seems to acknowledge is that rebalancing work-life balance and relieving stress is the best way to mitigate burnout. So, essentially, what everyone probably expected, taking some time off, getting away from that thing that's causing you burnout, rebalancing your work-life balance, right? If you work 60 hours a week, I know, that's crazy for some people. If you work 60 hours a week, you're probably going to experience burnout. By just reducing that to like 50 or 40 hours a week, you're already helping out a lot. Spending time with your dog or a significant other, or playing video games, or hitting the gym, or, I don't know, fucking masturbating. A slow jerk is a good jerk. That can help like alleviate burnout. Just take time for things you enjoy. Go watch a movie you like. Go watch a podcast you like. Go, eat some cake. Do something you enjoy. Get away from the things that are stressing you out. Like, I know it seems so obvious, but a lot of people don't realize that the time they spend away from work is really good for them. Hell, like, what's a good one? I know Fringy says this. You can always make less money, right? If you're in a stable position, okay, people need to learn how to budget. you can make money like stretch a lot longer than you think you can. Learn how to budget and then reduce your work hours. If you learn how to budget, you don't have to sacrifice that much. You might have to wait a little bit for things, but you don't have to sacrifice that much, and you can enjoy life more. Right? Maybe you want to hang out with your family more. Maybe you want to hang out with your friends more. Maybe, I'm going to make this joke twice, maybe you want to masturbate more. Nothing wrong with that. Or you want to watch shows you like or play more video games. Rebalance your life. Try to fit in the things you enjoy, and that will help mitigate burnout buildup. That's not a term. I'm just going to make that up. Burnout buildup. Like, you know, it takes a little more work, but that little more work can make a big difference in the long run. I think there are stories of people who, they make, less socially acceptable content on the internet, and they get burnt out on it. And it's like, well, this is really easy for you to fix. Work less. Right? You don't have, like, you're self-employed. You don't have to do this all the time. Like, just make less money. Right? Are you in a good position? Like, do you have disposable income? You do. Okay. Then maybe have a little less disposable income. Like, you don't need to fucking drive a current year car. Drive a car that's like a few years older. You could pay it off faster. It's cheaper. It doesn't depreciate, so you're not wasting money because it already depreciated. How close do you live to work? Is it like that far away? Can you walk? Can you recently walk to work? You can walk to work. Carpool. Like, you don't have to make as much money as possible. If anything, you just need to make enough money to cover all your expenses and have a few $100s for disposable income to where you can do things you enjoy. Now, maybe you won't be able to do things you enjoy all the time. Like, maybe you can't buy a new video game every 3 days. But a lot of video games I find are not worth it. I rather buy like one or two a month. And even then, I have Game Pass, so I only buy like one every other month because I can play on Game Pass, and then I enjoy it. I'm like, wow, that was fun. I don't think I'm ever going to play this game again. It was a good experience, and I only had to pay $15 a month. If you have PC, it's $10 a month, which, yeah, because you don't have to pay for your internet that you already pay for. But yeah, just, you can make less money. Like, your hobby, like, here's an example. This podcast, I really like doing it. You know what I've discovered, like, destroys my investment? Forcing myself to do it every week. Some people can. EFAP does their podcast every week, and it's cool. Mostly because it's just them hanging out and with an audience. But here's the cool difference between mine and theirs. Mine's discussing research and stuff, which I really enjoy. But because I can step back from it, because I don't have to do it every week, I enjoy it more. Now, does that cause my audience and my growth to suffer? Yes. Yes, it does. But A, I have a job. B, I have other skills I can bank on. So I don't need to do this every week. Now, would I like to at some point? Would I like this to be a consistent source of income? Yeah. Because it is something I truly enjoy. But even then, I would probably tell people, don't expect this every week. Like, at max, I'll do it every other week. But I'm not going to do it every week. Yeah, EFAP is also a job. But they do enjoy it. Right? I don't feel burnout hitting any of them. It's like they're hanging out with their friends. For money. Which is cool. Very few people get to do that. Sure, some people get to be naked on camera for a job. Which is unfair. But if you enjoy it and it's your job, that's even better. That's a better reason to appreciate what you have and take time off. Enjoy other things. It's really funny because because Puss in Boots 2, that's what it's about. It's like, enjoy what you have. Like, appreciate what you have. It's like, do you have a job you really like? Well, yes. Okay. Then appreciate it by taking time off. If you love your job, take time off from it. Get away from your fucking job. Right? If you hit burnout with your job, that sucks, especially with a job you like. That really sucks because now you have to find another job, which you might not like as much. Whew. I don't have a time limit for these, but around an hour mark, I think we're usually pretty good, especially because I'm hitting the conclusion. So let's hit the conclusion. We will wrap up, discuss any last things I want to discuss, and we'll be out of here. Burnout is a burnout is a complex phenomenon that affects many people. It is difficult to mitigate once it sets in, but there are strategies to help address burnout, especially when it is addressed early. Ultimately, burnout is a form of exhaustion. Rest is the best tool to alleviate it in any hobby or occupation. Reduce your work hours if you can. Take a break from content creation if you're a content creator. If you're burnt out on a game, play a different one. Rest is honestly the best tool for burnout. And you can even apply that to relationships. I didn't include that there because I just thought of it now. But if your only friend is your significant other, you might have a problem. Not you have a problem mentally, but you might run into an issue of, how am I going to take time away from them? I mean, obviously, what I do is my girlfriend goes to bed earlier than me, so every night is me time, right? I could watch shows, I could play video games. I don't really have to, interact with her. That's time off. When I have days off of work, she has class to be a PT, so she can be my sugar mama, and I don't have to work on shit. When I don't have work and she has class, that's a day off for me. That's a whole day of me not interacting with her, except for when she comes home and lunch, which is fine, right? That's still close to 8 hours of not interacting. That's me time. When I put in my headphones and play games, or I'm hanging out on Discord or watching EFAP, again, that's me time. That's me hanging out with as close of friends as I'm gonna get because I'm actually really shy and I hate meeting people in real life. Yeah, do things you like. Rest. Go to sleep. Honestly, I know people say this as a meme, especially people who don't fucking work or have hobbies. But a nap is awesome. Just take a fucking nap. Just take a goddamn nap. Man, I'm tired. I'm just gonna go to sleep. I'm exhausted from work. Take a 1 hour nap. Wake up, you feel refreshed. It's wow, that was me time. It was your body's me time. It was your body's time to be all right, let's get to work. Let's repair. But man, just take a break. Whether it's a nap or playing video games, maybe it's just a walk. Just get away from home. If you're home all the time, just go walk. Go for a walk. It's yeah. I mean, unless it's fucking -4 degrees. What I call courtism a friend? No, he's an unfortunate symptom of being on the internet. Yeah, he's like a tumor you can't get rid of. I keep trying, but he's always there. Regardless, yes, take a break. If you are, just try to take some time off work. If your relationship's a struggle, I'm not saying walk up to your significant other and be oh, let's take a break. Instead, be hey, I need a little bit of me time. Not even a whole day. Give me a couple hours of just me. If you have a hobby, you love that hobby, be careful turning it into an obligation. I'm not even kidding. If you like playing video games, be careful turning that into content creation. It works for a lot of people, but you just have to be careful. Don't turn it into an obligation. It's well, I like making videos of, for me personally, I like making Monster Hunter videos. I haven't done it in a long time because I burnt myself out on it. But if you really like making videos about Monster Hunter, do it. But when you feel man, I don't really want to do it, listen to your brain. Listen to your body. If you don't want to fucking do it, don't do it. Especially if it's not something you make income off of. If you rely on it, then you have to do it. Just find another way to rest. But if it's something you don't if you don't rely on to live, listen to your body. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. Take 1 week is not going to kill your channel's growth. I mean, it might, honest to God, but it probably won't. If you decide, you're a YouTuber and you're going to try to move up to like 3 videos a week, and you're like, wow, this is tough, dial it back. If you want to get into streaming, I'm gonna be honest, start with once a week. You're like, okay, I can handle this, move to twice a week. Okay, I can handle this, move to 3 times a week. Okay, I'm kind of tired, stay at 3 times a week, or reduce down. Same thing with training. Overtraining is a type of burnout, but for your body. Like I said, with work, find ways to mitigate it when you're off of work. Right? If you're in a good spot where you have disposable income, you don't need to make more money. Do you want to make more money? Sure. Okay. Then find a way to make more money. Okay? But you don't have to make more money. Don't put that pressure on yourself. And if you have someone who's putting that pressure on you, then, talk to them. Be like, hey, I'm feeling burnt out. Okay? Like, I can look for a new job, but I'm not going to work extra hours here because that's just exhausting for me. And it's not going to be good for anyone. Whew. That was a good one. I liked that episode. And I feel like that was the smoothest episode so far. I did do a lot of uhs and ums. I'm sorry. I am reading, and I'm going to be honest with all of y'all. Reading out loud's not my strong suit. But I think that was the best episode so far. Maybe not the most interesting for a lot of people. I still think the ADHD one is my more popular one. But I think this one was the smoothest one. And I'm stopping right around when my throat's getting kind of tired. Whew. So any last thoughts or questions or ideas before I wrap this up? I mean, I could keep talking for the duration of that. I'll stop at the half-hour mark. So on the clock. So whatever respective clocks you have is at 30, that's when I'll wrap it up. So I'll give you a couple minutes. Ooh, let's read the chat a little bit. Yeah, I wish Cordery would make his video. I want to make fun of his voice, but I haven't heard it yet. Thanks, Alex. I appreciate that. And thanks, Lev. I was worried about it because I noticed when I said I've taken like 2 speech classes. I mean, I've also had speech therapy, but that was because of a speech impediment. Speech classes is like public speaking. So I think I am better at it than most people, but I don't always remember all the things I was told. It's probably why I think I'm better at streams than videos. Because in a video, it's kind of hard to justify going off of an outline. Especially when you do uhs and ums. There was this one girl in my speech class. She had the worst she said it like between every fucking sentence. And it wasn't like it was like a It's like, oh my god, what's that noise? Shut the fuck up. I'm like, god damn, you're bad at this. That was bad. But when you do like a little right, like it's not like super blow in your face, I think that's a bit better. But with a video, there's not really an excuse to do it. In a stream, obviously it's a stream. It's live. You can't control entirely what you do. But in a video, you can cut it out. And if you don't, I'm going to be like, well, why aren't you cutting it out? Honestly, I didn't even notice it. The ums, Molly does it more. I think Molly does it louder. I think I'm a bit quiet. But I'm trying to talk at a more consistent level. Like I said, my mic picks up everything, and I don't talk very loud anyway. It's actually a problem of mine. I've always had an issue mumbling because... this is a weird one. I'm really shy. I don't think people know that about me. I don't like meeting people. I like talking to people on the internet because you don't know me. But I'm very shy. Once you get to know me and we're friends, I don't seem like a very shy person. But meeting new people, I'm very shy. Ah, Rags Biden. Yeah, he's that brain of his. I think I can tell speech impediment. I think I can tell the speech impediment thing. Couldn't figure out if it was an accent or a speech thing. Yeah, I have a slight speech impediment. I've obviously that was when I was a kid, but it still comes up. Um, Especially comes up when I'm reading. I'll be unable to say words. Also, I'm from Texas, so between the accent, speech impediment, my speech isn't always the best, which is why text is. I like text a little bit more, but I don't have a problem talking. It's just I always have to take time to talk slower, talk more clearly. When I'm reading, my mouth will be like, I don't know. It'll just be like, no, you're not saying these words. So I will have to stop and say them again. It's tough, but with each stream, I think I'm getting a little bit better. Plus, I have to talk at work, unfortunately. Uh, People in my English class always says yes in between sentences. Drove me crazy. Yeah, I think is the more common. I forgot what the term for it is, but it's like it's a sound you make to give your brain a second to catch up. So it's like, okay, brain. Okay, now it's caught up because I think a lot of people read faster than they can talk, and they also think faster than they can talk. So when the happens, it gives you a second to your brain to sync with your mouth. I don't know if that's like any of that's accurate, but it sounds accurate at least. Thank you. Thank you. I was hoping this was a good stream. I think this is the best one. I definitely feel like I need to slow down a little bit because I had to catch myself a lot of times being like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Say the sentence clearly. But yeah, that was this episode. I think either the Swole Show or the Swole Shiver, because it lines up with the shark theme, because that is now my persona. I am a shark man on the internet, and yeah, I'm totally okay with it. I think Hammerhead Sharks are fucking awesome. So yeah, so I mean the logo says Swole Shiver, so that's the show's name. But I don't know if I'm gonna like stick it in like the titles. Regardless, I'm going to post the links to the papers a little bit later. It'll be on Medium and Substack. I encourage everyone to like look at it on Substack because I do need that to kind of grow a little bit. Yes, I am the Swole Shark Man. I don't know what noise sharks make. I don't think they make any noise because they're underwater. Arr. It don't matter. But yeah, the swolls. Oh my god, I don't know why I put two S's together. That's literally my biggest weakness. That is my show, Swole's Shiver Sessions or whatever. Lots of S's. I should do the SS because that's funny and people will be like, "Oh my god, it's Nazi stuff," and I'm like, maybe I am the Shark Reich. No, I'm kidding. I know YouTube don't like that, and I don't want to pull a Kanye. Because unlike Kanye, I'm not crazy. Not in that way. Anyway, so to wrap this up, papers will be linked a bit later today. So if you want to read them, just check in like at least 24 hours. At the most 24 hours. Other than that, next episode, I don't know. I do not know what it will be on, and I don't know when I'm going to do it. It will probably be on the weekend because I am getting moved to full time soonish. So, and I also have to write the paper. So it will probably be on a Sunday, around the same time. Unfortunately, my lady will be here, so I mean, I guess fortunately, I can just tell her to use headphones. Yeah, that is the show. Because it's only an hour, she can just sit there and not make a bunch of noise for an hour. But yeah, that's the show. I hope everyone enjoyed. I hope everyone learned something from this, and I hope it was helpful. Helpful. So, some kind of noise that says bye.